Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cryptic Gaming, and so I had a video talking about the Resident Evil remake for the 7th and 8th generation consoles. That, however, made me so badly to want to make a video about how I feel the Resident Evil series turned out as a whole. However, how I feel the series lives up to its own expectations. As you know, there's been many opinions floating around about the survival of the series. Some claim it's having an identity crisis, some claim it's being milked, others claim it's just fine, so on and so on. It is true, however, Resident Evil has changed a lot. He went from being trapped in a mansion in Resident Evil 1 with tank controls. The tank controls were carried over to RE2 while being trapped in a police station, Raccoon City in RE3, the prison island in Code Veronica, Resident Evil 0, and then it had an entire new look on Resident Evil 4 with an over-the-shoulder view with some action elements involved. Then it almost turned into a straight-up action game with Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. So how do I feel about it? I feel that Resident Evil has forgotten its original roots. That's obvious. But I also feel like the series needs to evolve. Do I think Resident Evil is doing it the right way? Well, I'm leaning to 85% no and the last 15% to yes. I say yes because, well, the controls were a bit outdated, in my opinion. And seeing the same formula over and over was getting, well, kind of old. However, I say no because it's turned into an action game and tried becoming a war game. It completely, well, almost lost the Resident Evil feel, and tank controls did make the Resident Evil series what it was. Anyway, here's the problem. You have the fans who will play anything with the Resident Evil title stamped on it. You have the fans who are conservative, who want to see the same formula, just a better version of it each game. Like how Resident Evil 1, like, it got improved on Resident Evil 2, the controls did. And then the other part of the fans who like the change. They are grateful for a new formula. So how do you cater to the two parts that are completely different? It's kind of a tough one, but Capcom's almost done it. I would personally like to see the new Resident Evil game have two playable characters with two separate storylines, for example. Have one that is true to the old formula, survival horror, secluded, scary, and then the one that has action, a lot of guns and ammo and lots of enemies. This will cater to both sides and offer variety. And the control scheme should be optional. Give the option to have the traditional tank controls with lots of camera angles from the original games, and then the revamped controls, whether you go with Resident Evil 4 style or Resident Evil 6. If you ask me, Resident Evil 4 was the perfect formula. Of course, there's room for improvement. I liked the controls better in Resident Evil 5, but I liked it in a Resident Evil 4 setting. If you do this, you have a full story with the scary side of it and the military anti-terrorism part of it. The first story would be a Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Revelations, Resident Evil 2 type story. The second would be a Resident Evil 5 or 6 type story. That would be awesome. It would be the best of both worlds and satisfy fans of both versions. I personally like the new formula. However, I would like to see it return to the roots, to stay somewhat true. I loved Resident Evil 4, Code Veronica, Resident Evil 1, and 2, but I also enjoyed Resident Evil 5 and 6. What needs to happen is Capcom needs to find a balance to satisfy both fans. I love the series. I love having short ammo in the original games, and having to, like, you're not forced to fight the enemy. If you need to, if you're out of ammo, you can try to run past them, which made it kind of, to me, it made it kind of scary, because if you have to backtrack or go back to a room because you find a key and you go into a room with a bunch of enemies and you know there's a bunch of enemies in there and you know it, and you know you don't have the ammo to fight them and you have to run. I like the old Resident Evils because it gave you that feeling of, holy shit, I don't know if I can fight this. Resident Evil 4 had that a little bit. However, it forced you to fight the enemies, but there were times in Resident Evil 4 when I was like, oh shit, I don't want to fight them. I really don't. I don't think I can do it. I just can't. But in Resident Evil 5, I was like, at first, in the beginning, I was like, ah shit, I gotta do this. And then it kind of turned into, well, I have really powerful weapons and a partner with really powerful weapons, so I think I could do it fine. And then Resident Evil 6, I mean, I did die a lot. That, I mean, it was really hard. That or I just sucked at video games. And I really liked it. Though I didn't, I don't know, it didn't have that holy shit I have to fight this feeling. It was, okay, I can do this. I'm gonna blow some shit up. And the only one that really had the holy shit was Jake's campaign. That was the holy shit, do I really have to do this? Because that giant thing was fucking hard. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I loved Jake's campaign. I liked Chris's campaign, and I loved Leon's campaign. I think Jake's was the best. Leon's was the second best. Chris's was the third best. I liked Jake's because it had a survival feeling to it, with some mixed elements of action. I liked Leon because you brought back the zombies. Okay, that's what all the Resident Evil fans really wanted to see, was the zombies, because that's what made it Resident Evil at first. And I liked Chris's campaign because it was the military side of it. It was different. You had 3 games in once, basically. And I liked it, but it just wasn't enough. If you could make a game with a Jake, like a survival horror, Resident Evil 4 feeling, Resident Evil 2, Revelations feeling campaign. That's the first one. And then have a Resident Evil 6 campaign or Resident Evil 5 campaign for the second one with a different character, then you have it down. You have it down to a science, and you made the best game ever. Okay, well, that's my thoughts on how the Resident Evil series turned out. And if you could support me, please watch more of my videos. And if you have any opinion on the Resident Evil series, I'd love to hear it, and comment below. Have discussions, argue, cuss each other out. I don't care. Go for it. Alright, peace.